Hey everybody, today we're going to talk about what to expect when you're expecting to go to China. That's right, this is covering our itinerary about the upcoming trip to China. So everyone's going to land in Hong Kong. You do not need a Chinese visa or any visa to enter Hong Kong. Your regular passport will get you in and you'll clear customs. We'll retrieve each party at the airport. You'll either have a sign or you'll see some way to recognize your pickup. Once we get all the itineraries of when people are coming in, we'll give you details on that transition. But you'll basically get transported from the Hong Kong, probably on the train, from the Hong Kong airport on the train to downtown Hong Kong area, and then either subway or taxi from there to the hotel. We'll overnight there and just gather everybody up. This is kind of our mustering point. From Hong Kong, we're going to go to Guangzhou. This is the Canton Fair area, and this is where we'll cross into the border of China. We'll be in, some sort of private transportation, a bus or cars, and this is where we'll access our Chinese visa. For anyone, for whatever reason, who arrives without a Chinese visa, we'll get you a Chinese visa in Hong Kong this day. It will delay your departure a little bit, but we can definitely handle it if that's what it takes. So that's our fail-safe plan for anybody who fails to arrive with a Chinese visa. In Guangzhou, we'll stay there for a couple days. We're going to do the Canton Fair Phase 1. Even though it doesn't cover all the categories, it'll give you a very good idea on how to approach a fair, how to, kind of interact with vendors, what to expect. And anytime you come back to fairs that are similar to this type of fair in the future, whether it's Yiwu or Canton or any of the other numerous fairs they have in that area, you'll be well prepared. Once we finish up with Guangzhou, we're going to fly up to Shanghai, and we're going to spend a little time there. And we're going to take you around and do some fun things there. We're also going to have mastermind sessions. We're going to try this in each of the cities for those who are able to attend. We know some people want to get off and see their vendors. We're going to lay out the schedule, but we'll have some opportunities to kind of mastermind in each city as well. So Shanghai is a beautiful place. From Shanghai, we're going to fly up to Beijing. And this is where we're going to go do some of the typical bucket list type items like Great Wall, Forbidden City. We'll also do a very traditional Peking duck restaurant in Beijing, the most famous one and one of my favorites, probably my favorite place to go for Peking duck in the world. All right, so here's some things that I want you to kind of remember as you think about going to China. First of all, don't drink the water. It doesn't matter where you are, you just don't want to drink the water. So even in the shower, you don't want to, open your mouth and drink any of that water. It's something to be mindful of. This is not an uncommon situation around the world, but something I want to call special attention to. Another good idea is to buy yourself, go on Amazon and get a universal plug converter. So these plugs will be able to be utilized both in Hong Kong and China to some extent. China will have two-prong plugins in the hotel that are compatible with U.S. type of electricity, but most of them work on two prongs. So anybody who's got a MacBook has a three-prong, but you also have a little two-prong adapter that came with the computer. Those are the types of things you want to definitely bring to use in China. So Hong Kong uses that British-style outlet. That's where the universal plug will be especially useful. And then being able to go from a 3 down to a 2 is important for China. So definitely you want to stay in power. And we could probably find these things locally. It's just better to be prepared. You will have Wi-Fi access at the hotels, whether it's in the lounge area or the lobby or in your own room. You'll probably have it in all of them, but you'll plan on being able to have Wi-Fi access at the hotels. Okay, one of my most important notes is what I call plan your business and work your plan. So believe it or not, going to the bathroom in China can be quite an experience. Now we're going to be in mostly, very well developed cities and so forth, but even when we're out in areas like at the Great Wall or touristy type spots, the facilities are not what you may expect. So I always say try to plan your business at the hotel and then stick to your plan. If you do decide you want to venture out, or maybe you feel like frequency is an issue, bring your own toilet paper from the hotel. They don't have tissue, they don't have toilet paper in these public bathrooms, And as silly as it may sound, this is a big deal. So I always prefer to kind of handle business at five-star hotels and then stick to that plan throughout the day. If you have any questions about this, don't hesitate to ask. Public facilities like at train stations and airports and any other number of places can be very dodgy. Okay, so I know a lot of people are worried about what are we going to eat and how's the food going to be and so on and so forth. I can assure everyone that we will have something that meets their palate's acceptance. And, you know, I definitely have enough experience, and my team there has enough experience in making sure that Western style meals, even though it's a Chinese meal, it's going to be amazing. You're going to love it. I predict that, you know, some of the best meals you ever had will be had right there on this journey. Don't be surprised if a local comes up and asks you for a picture. It's not uncommon for somebody to just kind of come up and hold their camera and ask for a picture. And I always like to just be cordial and absolutely say yes. You know, we're kind of ambassadors for our own countries. Let's put a nice impression out there. It's not an uncommon thing at all, especially in touristy areas where people from the outlying areas are not as familiar with, you know, non-locals. Okay, so as you think about this, if you're checking a bag, go ahead and bring some hand sanitizer if you're, you know, really into that. You can't bring hand sanitizer in a carry-on, obviously, certainly not the larger quantities. If you're just going to carry on, that's okay. You don't need hand sanitizer, but for anybody who's really particular about this sort of thing, that's the way you have to do it. You bring it in a checked bag. We can have you check bags if that's what you would like to do. Some people are certainly going to be checking bags, so we're going to have a delay at the airport instead of just walking out with carry-on. But I encourage you to pack wisely and pack small. One little tip, if you're going to leave the hotel and you want to venture out, whether it's on subway or taxi or whatever, always take the hotel card with you. It's got the English name and it's got the Chinese name on it. And if you get in a taxi and you need to come back home, you can give them that card and they'll take you home. And it's a very small amount of money. Okay, got to take a deep breath here. So if you want to use your cell phone, data is particularly valuable over there in terms of, you know, what you're able to do. So I would recommend before you leave finding out your international data plan for your cell phone and go ahead and bulk that up a bit. It will allow you to use, you know, apps and things on your phone that you may not otherwise be able to use, like Skype or even Facebook. You know, Facebook on the Wi-Fi will not work. China blocks that. They also block YouTube and many other sites, Twitter and so on. But on your phone, it's not blocked because it's kind of probably encrypted or something where they can't tell what's happening. So if you want to use Skype or those types of things, you want to have that extra data while we're out and about. Of course, you can use Skype in your hotel room on Wi-Fi. That one is okay. By the way, here's a little tip. Queues are not first come, first serve. So by a queue, I mean a line. So if you're getting into a bus or a subway or a train or anything, people will just jam in as far and as fast as they can. And that's different than Western culture. You know, it's not going to be an issue for us, but don't be surprised if you see people who just walk around a giant line and walk right to the front and push their way on. Also, if we happen to be traveling at rush hour, don't be surprised to be packed in like sardines into subways or whatever transport we happen to be using. If we use public transport, and we will, no doubt, it's kind of a fun experience, number one. It's also very effective, but don't be surprised about being pushed around. So pack wisely. I've never had a big problem with pickpockets or anything there, but you want to be conscious of how you carry your valuables in those situations. Okay. This is, I know it's kind of weird, but burping, slurping, all kinds of things during a meal, including smoking, is not uncommon. It's a different culture, so you just have to kind of remember, you know, when you're in Rome, you do as the Romans do. You don't have to do those things, but a lot of people think that if you don't slurp your soup, for example, that's insulting the chef because you don't like it. Slurping is a sign of, you know, affinity towards the meal. But regardless of whether you participate, the biggest point is don't be offended or don't be surprised if you see it, especially if we have Chinese guests with us. Staring is also not uncommon. So if there's a bunch of us standing around, don't be surprised if people just come up and just stare at us from essentially point blank range. This is not uncommon, and it's actually a sign of interest and genuine kind of curiosity on the part of whoever's doing the staring. I remember having a group of 10 guys. We were all standing around in a huddle. We're looking at the plan, and next thing I know, there's probably about 8 little Chinese guys who've wedged their way into the circle, and they're also looking at the plan and approving it. It was hilarious. It was fun, but it's in the Western culture that might be considered rude. It's not rude there. Spitting is also not uncommon, unfortunately, and you may see signs that say no spitting. We don't spit. That's outside of our culture, and it's rude. But don't be offended or surprised if you hear lots of loogie making. Don't wear a green hat. That's a safety tip for anybody who may bring a hat, especially if it's cool weather or sunny weather. A green hat is. I'll tell you later if you're interested. But it's not something you want to wear. Yelling, or the perception that people are yelling at each other, is not uncommon. This is just the way and the cadence of speech over there. Very few times do I actually see yelling where it's really a conflict. Most of the time it's just a conversation. There's no tipping typically. So if you're on your own and you're having a meal or something, you don't worry about tipping. That's not part of the deal. When we go to shops, especially when we go to the fake market in Beijing, haggling is not only okay, it's expected. And I'll give you a little tutorial on how we haggle there. We're always respectful, but we also are realistic on what we should expect when it comes to getting a good deal. Okay, so in the south it's going to be very warm. So Hong Kong and the south of China, Guangzhou, Shenzhen, this whole area, Dongguan, all of this is going to be kind of a warm area and kind of humid probably as well. In Beijing, it's probably going to be cold, potentially, snow type of weather. Although I don't expect a bunch of snow on the ground, it would not be a surprise to see it be very cool there. So bring a jacket at least for that and prepare for both. I know it makes it tougher to pack, but c'est la vie. So again, to reiterate, it is okay to check a bag if you prefer to. That's okay. You want to bring comfortable walking shoes on a day-to-day basis. We are going to walk a lot, and I can't stress that enough. If you can't find shoes, or you don't have shoes right now that are comfortable walking, you're just not going to have happy times there. So get comfortable walking shoes. And this can't be emphasized enough. It doesn't matter if we're walking at the trade show, or we're walking at touristy stuff, or we're walking through subways, or just through the cities themselves. There's a lot of walking, and that's really the best way to see this experience and be part of the experience, as opposed to driving by in cars, taxis, and buses. Whatever bags you do pack, be prepared to hustle them yourself. So when you think about hustling bags through train stations, don't pack 3 carry-ons or 3 checked bags. Try to get it down to the level that you're going to be able to easily hustle your own bags through train stations and subways and whatever. This is a big deal because it makes our flexibility that much better. If you want to spend money in on this trip, you need to bring cash to change in for local currency. So in the case of China, it's renminbi, also known as yuan. This is what is expected in China. They're generally not going to want to take dollars or other currencies. Although there's exceptions to every rule, RMBs will get you the best and most standardized deal-making potential. At knockoff markets, they're pretty open on currency, but at regular stores, it's Chinese currency only, RMBs. You can use the cash machine, no problem. However, if you don't warn your bank, then they may block you. So if you plan on using your cash machine card, your ATM card, or even a credit card, you're going to want to give your bank a little heads up because they may be surprised by the new location you're charging from. Credit cards are not widely accepted. So when we go to the fake market, or we go to many stores, unless they're super huge malls or it's a big hotel or something, credit cards are not going to be widely accepted. So you're going to want to have some walking around money. Okay, so I want to just summarize again some of the key elements of this journey. So, besides getting yourself to Hong Kong, in country in Hong Kong on April 17th, and departing from Beijing on April 24th, we're going to take care of most every single thing else, including meals. We've got your hotels. We're going to have transportation from city to city, which will include everything from, cars, buses, trains, planes, whatever. We're going to have all of that taken care of for you. So that's part of that trip share cost, and it's going to go a long ways. And you'll see, kind of a regular routine of what we're doing and why. And my expectation is that you won't have to worry about very much at all when you're in country. So that's it for right now. We're going to have a great trip. If you do have questions, don't hesitate to email or call me, and we'll get those questions sorted out for you. We'll see y'all soon on the other side. 再见.